Klaus Hill is renowned for his expertise in music mastering and production, particularly in the electronic dance music scene. He has worked with major labels such as Ministry of Sound, Spinning Records, and Sony, mastering numerous chart-topping hits. His career has taken him from producing music to DJing in legendary clubs and festivals. The questions. That's
Okay.
all right. Okay, so tell me a few things you do as a music producer.
Okay. So I actually work in a very specific area. So I'm what they call a mix and mastering engineer. So I'm at the end of the process before the music goes up. So basically, people provide me with their full mix of the track. So all the individual parts broken down. Sometimes it might be 100 tracks of audio, or it might be what we call stems. 10 stems will be like grouped parts or an individual stereo file. And I then put it across a mixing board, put effects on, balance the track, sort the levels out, and get it to a professional standard ready for release. So it's a big part of the record, but it's at the very end of the process where generally the songwriters and maybe the team of producers or whatever get involved. There's not too much of the musical aspect involved. I might get stuff replayed occasionally and replace sounds, but generally I am the finishing the product from getting a finished record.
Oh, okay. What made you want to go into this career path?
I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's a career path I fell into. I started out in playing. I started off DJing on pirate radio in the 90s in the UK, in London. So playing on illegal radio stations that used to be very, very frequent in the early days of what they called the rave scene back there. So, 1991, 92. So I used to drive over to East London and be in dodgy estates and play records on vinyl with worrying about police raids and everything else. And music was just the passion. And then the next progression really from that is to start producing records. And I did that. So I had a long career DJing and producing records. And then you kind of move into other areas of it all. I'm very lucky to do what I'm doing, but it was just like a natural progression. I worked other jobs, but all the time while pursuing a musical career, trying to get it as a full-time job, I cleaned windows, office floors. I worked in IKEA, buffing on the buffer machine, polishing the floors, and then would go in to the studio and work all night, and then go and clean offices at 6 a.m. in the morning and all that sort of stuff. So, and then it just got to a point where, it was always what I wanted to do, really, once I kind of knew that there was a path to do it all. But there's a saying, it's not a sprint, if it's a marathon, and music is definitely one of those. So it was kind of like it was a direction I was going, but it took a long time to get there to make it a full-time job.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay. What's something you love about your profession?
The creative side of it. It doesn't matter which, unless it's like, even then unless it's like management and stuff like that, most of the arts is on the creative side, right? Even some of the management side is creative as well, with the campaigns that they have to run. But it's the creative side that I like. It's activating that side of the brain. Like I'm not thinking about numbers. I'm not sitting there thinking about, not liking such and such in the office, or worrying about getting to going on public transport to work. So I'm very lucky, and I know I'm blessed to do the work that I do. But it's the creative side. It sparks that brain. It's excitement, hearing new music and being at the forefront of it all. Now, I've been involved in quite a lot of big records over the years that have been number ones around the world, and a couple of times I've had sort of potentially, but what basically is the biggest record in the world streaming at the time. So being involved in that is the excitement, the arts, hearing it before anybody else, and just having a small part in that. TikTok hit that everyone's listening to on TikTok, knowing that I had a small part in it. That's the exciting part of the work for me.
That's brilliant. It sounds really nice. What's something you find a bit difficult about your profession then?
That's a good question. The work is not difficult. The hardest part is managing people's expectations. It's very difficult working with a singer who tells you they want to sound like Beyonce, but they've recorded the vocal in a cupboard in Peckham with mattresses on the wall. That's the reality, right? I'm not even joking. It's that and I've said Peckham because you can tell from my accent that I'm from London originally. So I've said it so you know what I'm talking about. But it's the same the world over. It's managing people's expectations. People they want to sound like $1 million, but they've spent 50 pence on the budget, and that is the reality of a mix engineer, especially nowadays. The record labels don't have big budgets anymore. Unless you're a big band, there's no big budgets for albums anymore. So it's managing expectations, which is difficult. As I've got older, I'm a bit more carefree about managing actual expectations, and I'm a bit more truth speaker, and I just tell people a bit more bluntly that their music's crap, or they need to go off and fix something, or they do anything else. But that's the hardest part, is managing expectations. The reality of you ever seen that meme where it's sort of the picture of the Mona Lisa and then there's a hand drawing of it next to it? Yeah. That's music. That's what people want theirs ones to look like the real Mona Lisa, but really it looks like it's been drawn by an 8-year-old. And you can't. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what I do. It's like that. You can't fix so many of those problems. So that's the toughest part.
Yeah. Okay. What advice would you give someone wanting to go into a career as a music producer?
Don't give up on your dreams, but it's a long slog, and have a backup plan. Don't make it your be-all and end-all. Me personally, I'm not a fan. I don't think that committing whole hog to uni debts and everything else, doing music production courses and stuff are of any benefit. It's a trade that is hands-on and that you learn by getting in on the tools and getting in there. So my suggestion is hold on to your dreams and keep pushing it, but have the backup plan as well, because it is getting harder and harder. There's so many avenues you want in production. You can be the songwriter, you can be a producer, a sound engineer, a recording engineer who does it all. You can be what they call a vocal engineer, someone who literally just works on people's vocals day in, day out. You can do game design, music, sound design, movie trailers. There's so many options out there. But at the end of the day, having a backup plan, if it all goes down the toilet and it doesn't quite work out for you, having that backup plan is definitely my advice. It's probably not what people want to hear, but it's getting harder and harder. AI taking over, especially for the actual creative writing of music. That aspect is AI is really coming into play now. It used to be library music was a big thing, where you pay people to make library music, so they can use it for just online content, for ads, for TV ads or whatever. But they just need, or radio jingles, just background stuff. AI is just making all that now. So, and as that technology gets better, it's going to take more and more of the jobs of the creatives. So the backup plan, it's not the sexy advice, but it's definitely the one that I say to people. But still pursue your dreams. It's hard work. It's about doubling. You don't do a real job while you sit in a studio all night and with lack of sleep and working on your chops and working on your skills and stuff. And hopefully, fingers crossed, something works for you. But that's the advice. And maybe a second bit of advice is it's still it's a skill that's been lost by today's generation, but because everything's done such online, so it's like online. It's watching tutorials and doing that, but actually being physical and sending emails out and trying to get yourself into studios and saying, "Hey, can I just pop past? I'm really interested in this," and sitting down with someone like me. Most engineers will give you the time of the day, and once they hear that you're actually interested, you'll start getting some foot in the door and being able to sit in on sessions and stuff. And that side of it has been lost. People don't do that anymore, but actually get out there and try and get into some studios as well to see if it's something you really want to do.
Yeah, that's great advice. Really nice. During your career, what's the best thing you've ever done?
There's so many highlights. I mean, I played some amazing festivals when I was much younger, late 90s, early 2000s. Played the very first Exit Festival, which is a very big festival in Europe. They're all highlights. Maybe playing festivals in either where was it, Serbia or Croatia, and playing like a sunset set, 5 a.m. in the morning in an old fort. That kind of thing with 10,000 people in front of you with the sun coming up. Those kind of moments. And then the other one is there's quite a lot. The first record I put out, first piece of vinyl, which was, putting money into putting a record out, which people don't really do anymore because it's all digital, but having the first vinyl press. And then record-wise, the biggest record I've worked on probably is a track called Astronaut in the Ocean, which is by Mars Wolf. You might know it. You'll probably know it if you heard it because it was the biggest record in the world in 2023, I think it was. So it was a viral hit on TikTok, and that's had billions and billions and billions of streams, basically. So it's a variation that highlights the actual, probably for me, the biggest one was that first record. I think that's still the one where it's like, back then it was, you had to put your money where your mouth was to press up vinyl. And I think that's the one, putting the first piece of music on a piece of vinyl and sending it out to people to buy. I probably didn't sell that many. Maybe I sold 1,500 copies, maybe. But that's probably, still that's the one. Realizing that you can do it.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm pretty sure I've heard of that. And like on the other side, what does like a typical week look like?
A typical week. So typical week in work for me is, I'm an early riser. So I'm in the studio. So the studio is built in the back garden here. So I moved out of the complex I was in a year ago, and I built the studio back at home because I am an early riser. So I'm in the studio by normally about somewhere between 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. really, just because I just get up so early, and that's the time that I'm most creative. My brain is sparking, and I can get on with stuff. Works as well with the time difference, because obviously here I'm talking to you from the future, as it's the evening time here. So for that, it works well. I catch people in the UK still at the end of their office day, depending which time of the year it is, because daylight saving can change that. But I still catch people generally at the end of it, coming to the end of their office day. So if there's something urgent that I need to speak to someone about, I can catch them. And then the US is a good time as well, because they're normally like either an hour behind, but the day before, or there might be like three, if it's LA or New York, some time difference. So generally I catch my US clients at a sensible hour as well. So so the first thing is I'll have a coffee, I'll check my emails, I'll start getting on, and then it'll be working on the jobs of the day. Sometimes I might work on one job for that day, and it might take me a few hours, it might take me the whole day. Other times I can work on 5 to 6, 7 tracks if they're smaller projects, and I'll just crack on. And generally I'm sort of wrapped up by about 1 o'clock, finished, and then I will finish for the day. But then I'll cook for the kids and everything else in the evening, and then I'll pop back in maybe, and if there's any what we call delivering, like the final print. If someone has approved stuff that I've done during the day, I'll quickly run in for another hour in the evening and just do the final assets, is what the term is used. And so I will provide main mix, a radio mix, so a shortened version for radio play and Spotify, instrumental if it's a vocal track, so muting the vocal, and then an a cappella, so just the vocal, and any of the other assets. So I'll get those all ready and put them in a zip and then upload and send them away. So that's generally the day. Start early, get finished, and then I sort of pop into the evening. It can be a long day, it can be a short day, but it's generally can be 7 days a week though. That's the thing. So deadlines and everything else. So I haven't worked today, but there's not normally a weekend where I don't work, which can be tough, but it's just the way that the industry works.
Yeah, sounds like a really exciting week. What has the role taught you?
Patience, because you have to be patient normally with other people. It's taught me the importance of the arts, whether it's music, photography or anything else, the importance of that for people, because when you talk to artists every day and you hear them talk passionately about their art, the music that they've worked on, you realize the importance that plays, and arts and music and everything else that keeps us happy.
Yeah, that's great. I'm going to move on to my favorite section now, which is the creative section. So, if your profession was a movie title, what would it be?
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Ooh. How would you describe your workspace?
My workspace, I would describe it home in one word.
Nice. And what do you think is the weirdest thing about your profession?
Oh, the weirdest thing. Wow, there's so many weird things. The people, creatives are weird generally. Not all of them, and not everyone, but they're quirky, kooky. What other my favorite words to describe them? They're just a little bit crazy, a little bit wacky, never quite right. That's so it's the people. That's the weirdest thing is the people. You meet some amazing people, but you meet some crazy people as well, and amazing crazy people.
Yeah, great. One thing you never thought you needed as a music producer, but now you rely on.
Communication, really important, really important. Being able to vocalize and communicate clearly what it is that you're hearing, and the like musicians and producers and engineers, we use words to describe sound. So being able to do that concisely. So when someone talks about something being bright, we won't just say, oh, that's bright, it's too harsh. We will say it's sharp, it's fizzy. We'll use these terms to describe a sound. Or like, if the bass is too big, it's bulky, it's flabby, it's farty. These are all like words that you describe. And another classic one in production is like making something sound warm. If I ask you that, what does making a sound warmer key up for you? Well, it doesn't really make any sense, right? But for musicians, they will get what you're talking about. So communication is key. Knowing when you can communicating. When you can communicate in those words with someone that understands them, or communicate with someone and getting the same message across that may not understand, communicating about the music or communicating from the business side, that's the one for me.
What do you think is your favorite motto?
Favorite motto. Okay, we have one. Is that it's the one that I like that we use all the time. There is read the bleep manual. So it's a swear word, so I won't say it. So that's a classic that gets used in this industry. Read the bleeping manual. And the other one is one that sort of motto or phrase that we say is that you can't polish a turd, but you can roll it in glitter. And that sums up. So not all of it. It's quite harsh because there's so much good music I do, but that's generally the job of a mix engineer and stuff. Sometimes it's taking the turd and rolling them in glitter to make them look shiny. And that's one of my favorite ones that is used all the time by engineers and producers. So it's not really a motto, but it's kind of like like a phrase that people say and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I'm gonna say, describe your profession in 3 words.
Tough, beautiful, life.